All right. If talking about season 10 preparation and how to get better at Mons is my brain's way of getting me to procrastinate studying for boards, it's doing a very great job. Hello, it's me again, your commissioner, Rockin' Solo. Today, I just want to kind of talk about building a draft team. Like now, you've gotten your team together and you're going up against your first opponent. What are ways to build your team to put you in a really good position and kind of differentiate your team from your opponents? So, in this video, I'm gonna I put together two teams, one for the opponent and then one for us as the player, to kind of put together to put us in a better position and let us kind of act as a better team. You know, we're using more resources to put together a stronger team with the best chance of winning. So real quick, I just want to look at what our opponent's team is going to be. So uh, this opponent, you know, they are just using like standard sets. You know, they're not putting any thinking. They said, oh, you know, I think, you know, this set looks good. I'm going to bring it versus my opponent. And in this, you know, hypothetical reality, right? We know what our opponent's going to bring, every minute detail. So obviously, we want to put ourselves in the best position. But again, this guide is kind of like a general thing of something you can do to continue to put yourself in a better position than your opponent, just in the builder alone. Which, of course, you know, in the actual battle, everything fluctuates. You know, you'll get paralyzed 4 turns in a row, you'll get flinched. You know that those things happen, but you want to put yourself in a position where, hopefully, those don't matter too much in the grand scheme. But yeah, let's go over the team we're going to be building against. So this person's team, they got Hariyama, they got Metagross, they got Charizard, they got Donphan, Manectric, and Vaporeon. So looking at this team, it's very physically bulky, right? We got Donphan. You know, Donphan has really high physical stats with 90 HP, 120 defense. Vaporeon is a Pokemon that invests a lot into its defense and can get incredibly bulky on the physical side as well. Metagross, again, like Donphan, has really high natural physical bulk, but it's that attack stat that's really going to be concerning for us when we're building. And then we're looking at Pokemon like Hariyama, who's got a lot of HP, lower defense stats, and then Charizard, we're looking at more of like, this is the damage dealer. And then Manectric is very fast. It's the fastest Pokemon they have on this team, and we're going to have to remember that number when we're building. So this is what we're going to be going up against. Now let's highlight the team that we're going to be using. So we got Flygon. Flygon's a Pokemon that has decent attacking stats and a really nice base 100 speed tier with an awesome Dragon Ground typing. We got Gyarados. You know him, you love him. Gyarados, very high attack, decent speed that can only go up with Dragon Dance. We got Blaziken, who's got incredible mixed attacking potential. We're going to be building with Solrock, who I think is a really interesting Pokemon in draft because of the Levitate ability and its unique Rock Psychic typing, along with a really diverse move pool. I think we can make some fun stuff happen with Solrock. Then we got Roselia here, lower tier Pokemon that is really unique because it has spikes. And then we got Ursaring, big, heavy physical hitter. So we got a lot of physical offense on this team that we have to work with. So when I'm putting together, you know, my team for draft, obviously the first thing I do is I look at my opponent's team. So I'm going to go back to that real quick. And again, in this hypothetical, we already know what the sets are going to be. So I look at my opponent's team and I go, okay, what am I going to struggle to deal with? And I'm looking, and my eyes go right to Metagross and his big attack stat and Choice Band Meteor Mash. And then I think about my team and I go, how do I switch into that? How do I deal with that incredibly powerful move? And looking at this team, our resists to steel are Gyarados and Blaziken, both of which do not really want to switch into these kinds of attacks. So we're going to have to build Gyarados, especially Blaziken, very specifically to kind of take advantage of Metagross being locked into certain moves and being able to play around it. So back to that, looking at that team again, I'll kind of look at it from this view so it's easier to see the Pokemon as they match up. So I'm looking and I see that they have a potential hazard removal Pokemon in Donphan. And now we're looking at the set they brought, they have Rapid Spin. Okay, so we know that Spikes, they're going to be able to get rid of Spikes. Which means Roselia's job is, he's not as expendable as you would think. And looking at Roselia, we also see, as a grass type, it's going to match up pretty okay versus Vaporeon, who's a water type. And then obviously we're going to have to run away from Charizard. We're not going to be able to take any hits from Metagross. And in the clutch, we could even switch into a Pokemon like Hariyama, and eat a Fighting Stab and then outspeed it and do a little bit of chip damage. So, looking at everything here, why don't we start building who we think our best Pokemon is? And funny enough, I'm looking at my team here, and I'm seeing how good Dragon Dance Gyarados can be. So, looking at Gyarados with the physical special split and how it's implemented, we have no real water stab to take advantage of. So we're going to have to rely on Hidden Power Flying as our main stab, Earthquake, stuff like that. So it's going to be a little bit tricky because if we had Water Stab, this would be a walk in the park. So we'll start off with Dragon Dance, Earthquake, and Hidden Power Flying. Right, and then we'll throw on something like a Lumberry so we can eat, any potential status that can come our way. Alright, so looking at our stats, I'm looking at my speed stat especially and going, okay, I need Gyarados to be faster than Metagross, right? So if I were to switch Gyarados into Metagross, I wouldn't want to be able to attack it back, right? So I'm going to pull out the damage calculator here. Incredibly important tool. Some people say it's a crutch. Don't listen to them. Use the calc. It is your friend. So we're going to look at Metagross with the choice band here. And we're going to look at Gyarados. We're going to use a blank set. We're going to create all our own spreads in this video. So, standard Metagross, choice band Metagross, which is what we're going to be going up against, runs 208 speed. So, we can easily get up to 209 and outrun it, which is phenomenal, right? That's a great start. All right, we can also look up there and see that Meteor Mash is doing 50 to 59%. So it is a 2-hit KO on us, so we can't be switching in forever. So I know before I'd put on Lumberry, this might be a situation where leftovers are probably going to be better to, get some passive healing and everything like that. So we can go ahead and put in our moves. Let's get on Earthquake. Let's get on Hidden Power Flying. And we can see that Earthquake is really not doing any damage. So we're going to need to bump up our attack stat, which is what we were going to do anyway. Right? So let's go ahead and max that baby out, 252. Right? Let's get some damage going. We see that EQ is a 2-hit KO on Metagross, which is awesome. So, also looking at Gyarados, we have to remember that if we're going to be running Dragon Dance, we should also see what our damage looks like at +1 attack, and then we also want to see what our speed looks like at +1. So at +1 speed, we hit 313. Now we'll go back to the speed number in a little bit, but let's go back to that attack. So we can see that Earthquake is doing 83.4 to 98.4, which is a lot of damage. But then if we add in spikes, all of a sudden, one layer of spikes, you have a 68.8% chance to one-shot that Metagross, which is amazing. And in 2 layers of spikes, you just destroy it. It just goes down, which is incredible, right? So we definitely want to run a lot of attack on Gyarados. Now let's go back and look at that speed number. When we're at +1 speed, we want to make sure we're outrunning everything that our opponent has. So let's go back to their team, right? Their fastest Pokemon is Manectric. And Manectric being an electric type, he's going to zap us with Thunderbolt, so we want to be faster than him at +1. So 339 is the number that Manectric hits. So let's go back to the calc, and we want to improve our speed until our number on the far right gets 1 above 339. So 116 EVs will let us outrun everything our opponent has at +1, while also being faster than Choice Band Metagross, which really helps a lot. If we wanted to kind of like make sure that we're outrunning this Choice Band Metagross, we can go ahead and max out their speed stat. We can go ahead and creep up if we wish. That is up to you. For the purpose of this, we're going to assume that our opponent is just using the standard sets and aren't thinking about it too much. Right? We're going to use our giant brain, our intelligence, to outsmart our opponent and use the calculator to our advantage. Right? So 252 EVs in attack, 116 in speed. We could go ahead and throw the rest of that into bulk, which is really nice for allowing Gyarados to survive a lot of hits. Let's see. 116, 252, and 140 into HP. Now, if we wanted to get fancy, which we might later through the video as we kind of dissect more of our opponent's team, we can fine-tune those numbers. But for now, this looks pretty good. I like where this Gyarados is. All we need is a fourth move, and that is really just going to be coverage. So we can go back and look at their team one more time. We see we got Flying, and we've got Ground Stab. That kind of hits everything decently hard. Obviously, you know, Donphan, that hit's going to bounce off him pretty well. And Vaporeon is a very bulky Pokemon. But with Gyarados' coverage and limited options, there's not going to be a lot of moves we can use to hit them. So we really only need these two attacking moves. We could throw on Hydro Pump to hit Donphan a little harder, but the damage is going to be kind of pitiful. One thing we could do is actually throw on something like Toxic to hit incoming Vaporeon, who thinks that he can sit in and wall us out with like Wish and things like that. We could also run Thunder Wave to paralyze Pokemon so that our other teammates can catch up, especially something like Ursaring, who's very slow. So I'm going to put her on Toxic because I think that's going to help us versus Vaporeon a bit more, which is a Pokemon that more things on our team are going to struggle with. So speaking of one that's going to struggle, here's Blaziken. Right? So Blaziken is going to be one of our main special attacking damage dealers. So we want to go ahead and throw on a fire move. Right? Fire Blast is the obvious choice here. Right? You know, it's the strongest move he has that doesn't have any serious drawback. Right? And Blaziken also having a 120 attack stat, right? It really sets us up for a nice mix attacking potential. So using moves like Brick Break or Focus Punch. So let's go look at the opponent's team again. Now, fighting coverage isn't the most important. It's certainly nice, especially to hit guys like Vaporeon very hard. So looking at coverage-wise, you know, ground-type move could be good. A rock-type move would be really good to hit Charizard, who's going to kind of come in on our fire and fighting-type moves and kind of wall us out. So let's see what else Blaziken can do. So we got Brick Break as a potential option. We got Earthquake here. Let's keep going. Oh, look at that. Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch lets us hit Vaporeon. It lets us hit Charizard. That's really nice. I think that should definitely be a staple on this team and what we're going to bring. We also have Rock Slide, which would decimate Charizard, which is also really good to have. So, we've seen a lot of things. We got all the hidden power types we could ever want. Just looking now, I think having a fighting stab move would be really nice. I'm going to go with Brick Break. It's consistent, it doesn't miss. If our opponent has screens, we can break them. It's nice, it's good to have. And then in the last slot, I'm liking the idea of something like Rock Slide to really nail Charizard. So, now it's time to run some calcs again. So, let's see. We know the Metagross number, right? We went and we looked at it before, right? 209. Once we hit 209, we'll be faster, which is very, very nice. We can go ahead and look at other numbers we have to deal with. 143 is very low. Probably not applicable here. We're going to outrun it anyway. Donphan, same deal, very slow. Vaporeon is a slow Pokemon. And Charizard's going to outrun us regardless of how we invest. So we don't really have to worry about that too much either. We just have to make sure we can take a hit from Charizard, which shouldn't be too difficult, you know. It doesn't really run flying moves in this gen because its options Aerial Ace and HP Flying, which are not good moves in comparison to like something like Air Slash in future gens. Manectric is also going to outrun us, so we're back to Metagross again. So remember when we were running calcs and we saw that Metagross with max speed and the adamant nature hits 239? I think Blaziken should outrun that number more than Gyarados needed to, because we want to make sure that Blaziken is outrunning Metagross at all times. Right, so we can go to 240 here, and we can max out our attack, our special attack, because again, we want to hit people with Fire Blast, we want to hit people with Thunder Punch. Alright, that's going to be super nice. And then for a Glass Cannon Pokemon like Blaziken, just dumping the rest into attack is always a good strategy, and then we can lower one of the defense stats. So since Blaziken is one of our 2 switch-ins to Metagross Meteor Mash, I'm thinking lowering his special defense is going to be nicer, because Blaziken's not going to eat a Surf from Vaporeon anyway. We don't really want to stay in on Manectric, things like that. So those special hits aren't as important as maybe taking a Meteor Mash in the clutch and then getting a knockout. So in terms of items, we could get fancy and run a Slack Berry to boost our speed under 25% HP, which would then let us outrun our opponent's entire team, including Manectric, which is very appealing, and especially coupled with Blaze, so we get an extra boost on our Fire Blast. That could be a really cool option. I think that would be really fun and very spicy to try out for this team. So we're going to roll with that. So we got 2 down. We got 2 strong attackers. Now I want to talk about Roselia real quick, since I mentioned spikes before when building with Gyarados and wanting to get them down and keep them down. So Roselia's job is to set up spikes, and looking at Roselia's move pool, it's full of really interesting tools. One of which, you know, is spikes, obviously. And I'm pretty sure... Oh, it doesn't get Sleep Powder in this gen. Well, never mind. Scratch that. Scratch that. So something like Aromatherapy, right? Aromatherapy has the option to get rid of T-Waves on things like Gyarados, Blaziken, stuff like that, which could be nice. So it's definitely worth considering. And if we're looking more at Roselia's moves and its stats, we look at the 100 special attack and the 60 attack, and our options are limited. That's for sure. So we could very easily just tack on Giga Drain and a Hidden Power and kind of call it a day in terms of damage. Which, looking at our opponent's team, I think that might be the way to go. Slap on HP Fire for Metagross, and that's gonna be pretty good there. So now if we're gonna make our spread, right, we know the Metagross number, right, so we can go to 209 for speed. I think with a Pokemon like Roselia, we're gonna want some bulk, right, because this is our main switch in to Manectric. So we can go back to the calc here. We can look at Roselia and Manectric. Right, so let's see how much Thunderbolt does. 33 to 39. That's a lot of damage for a resist. So let's go ahead and max out our HP. And now that number is very nice. Guaranteed 4-hit KO. Now if we're going to throw on leftovers, right, 13.3% chance to 4-hit KO after leftovers, which is really, really nice. I like that. I like those odds. So I also want to look at this HP Ice calc. This is a 97.7 chance to 2-hit KO. That's a high odds right there. So if there is a way where we can boost up our special defense to take that hit, it would be very good. So let's see. What is that speed number? 209. So let's go ahead. Let's crank that up. Go up to 172. There we go. How many EVs do we have to play with? 80. Alright, let's see if this is worth the investment. Look at that. HP Ice is now a guaranteed 3-hit KO after lefties. So let's see if we could bring this number down a little bit. There we go, right here. With 56 EVs, HP Ice is a guaranteed 3-hit KO after lefties, which is really good. I like that a lot. So let's go ahead and do that. Give him a calm nature. And then we have 24 EVs to play with. I'm just going to throw that into special attack so that our Giga Drains and HP Fires are doing a bit more damage. Alright, hope you guys are kind of following my thought process as we're going through here. You know, so we're starting to build our defensive core a little bit more. So let's talk about Flygon, because, you know, you think Flygon, you think, you know, I'm going to click Earthquake, you know, I'm going to click Rock Slide, I'm going to click Dragon Claw, stuff like that, and being really fast. Which we definitely want to do, especially looking at this team. Right, you know, we're worried about Charizard, you know, HP icing us. You know, Manectric HP icing us. You know, these are pretty decent concerns. I have a little bit of an idea, a thinking perhaps, of using Flygon a bit more defensively. Let's see if this is realistically something that we can pull off on this team. So let's get Metagross. Let's get that Choice Band set. That Meteor Mash is doing a lot of damage. Now, is there a way that we can survive that move? It's going to take a lot of investment to do so. That's for damn sure. So, let's try to give Flygon a little bit of a boost here. So just with the Impish nature, we would live one Meteor Mash, which I think is pretty cool. I actually am going to bump up my defense here. So what we got going on right here is called a bump. So notice that I'm on 12 EVs and I go up to 16 and my points increase by 2 instead of 1. We call that a bump. A lot of people use that for VGC just to kind of get a little bit more oomph, most bang for your buck with your spread. We're going to utilize that so that we can lower the HP a little bit more so we can try to get some more speed and attack so we can do some more damage. Let's go 196 right there. I like how that looks. Now we can also look at that 252 number with Metagross. And we know, okay, you don't need that much speed to outrun it. Let's go ahead and put that on, make sure we have it. So we're going to want to look and see how much damage is Earthquake doing. 51%, not a lot. That's because Flygon is bad. I'm just kidding. You know, my opinions on Flygon, you know, notwithstanding. Let's throw some moves on here. We want Earthquake, we want Rock Slide, 100%. Right? We want to nail Charizard. You know, we want to nail Metagross. Being able to 2-hit KO it is really nice. So we can, let's look at speed again. Let's go back. Let's look at more speed benchmarks. You know, Charizard, we would have to deal with the speed tie. Now, this set goes to 297. We're not going to have enough EVs to reach that number. But again, this Charizard set, them bringing it, it doesn't have Dragon Claw. And even so, Flygon can take a Dragon Claw from Charizard because it's not stab. And dish out a Rock Slide and get the one-shot. Now, I want to go back to Manectric again. As you know, we always do. We find ourselves calcing for the really fast electric type. Now, looking at this HP Ice, it's a 43.8% chance to one-shot us. Now, is this something that we can realistically live? Because we do get the one-shot with Earthquake regardless of our investment, which is really cool. I like that. Now, let's see how much SPDEF investment we need to live an HP Ice. 60. That's really not a lot. Let's go ahead and go back to our team. And throw out these numbers. So the reason that something like Flygon can actually run a bulky set is, again, a topic I covered pretty extensively in the last video, just talking about how the general power level is lower. And, you know, a lot of Pokemon just don't do as much damage. So looking at our current spread, we have 220 EVs to play with, right? We could very easily just dump that in attack for more damage, which is very appealing. I'm not going to lie. We can also run a bit more speed to kind of get closer to Charizard, but again, do we need it? Not necessarily. Our team is relatively, this team is relatively slow, so we really only have to worry about the Metagross speed benchmark, making sure that we're definitely faster than that thing. Like with Charizard, we're not too worried about going down to a Dragon Claw. If we're really worried, we can pull up Charizard over here. Again, as I said, this is a hypothetical. We know this is the set. But just for, curiosity's sake, let's pull up Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is 53 to 63.4. And if we got Rock Slide on this bitch, do we care about Charizard? Maybe we do. So we definitely need to run enough attack to survive, to knock Charizard out with Rock Slide. So let's go ahead and bump those numbers up. We would only need 108, which is, that's not bad. That's not bad odds. So let's go ahead and throw 108 on here. So now Flygon is looking very, very specific, right? This spread looks like you know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about when you're, you're using your Pokemon. Which, at the end of the day, is really all that matters. You just have to seem like you're better than your friends. So we've gotten a lot of mileage out of Flygon with only 2 moves. I think it's time we start to see what else Flygon can do. Because the big elephant in the room is Vaporeon, which, with our current investment, we're not going to do a lot. I actually think running Protect on Flygon would be really nice. If Metagross were to come in on us, right, we could go ahead and click Protect and scout what move he wants to lock himself into, and if it's Meteor Mash, then we know we have Gyarados pretty okay. If our opponent wants to predict that, go for Rock Slide, with Metagross, we're going to eat that up all day long. So we can just stay in and click Earthquake, and now we're in a really, really good spot. Still looking, you can always find some hidden gems in the usually useless moves section. Alright, I'm looking at here. I'm not seeing anything that's really going to help us. Iron Tail is certainly funny. Gust has its uses, for sure. Toxic, very similar to the reasons that Gyarados has it. We punish Vaporeon switching in and everything, which is really nice. Quick attack to pick off, Manectric and Charizard. It's not a bad idea either. We can even run Rest. Now, I'm actually thinking Rest is a good option because we have Aromatherapy on Roselia, right? I'm just going to make sure that Spikes and Aromatherapy are compatible, which they are. That's good. Because whenever you're coming up with ideas, you always want to make sure that your moves are compatible. Roserade in DPP is a great example where you can't run Spikes and Sleep Powder on the same set. So we have Rest on Flygon. Now Flygon acts as a check to Metagross too, so you can rest on it, right? Protect for PP stalling, right? And we can keep Flygon around to take hits and be annoying all game long. So I really like how this guy looks, and we have more stats to throw in. I'm just going to throw it all in attack so we do a bit more damage. With Flygon's mediocre attack stat, having that extra oomph is going to be really nice. So we are 4 down, and we got 2 to go. So let's look at Solrock, right? He's a big rock. He's a sunny guy. I personally have never used Solrock in my entire life. This is a Pokemon that you always run into when you're playing Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And you fight Tate and Liza. They got Solrock and Lunatone, right? They're spamming Earthquake and everybody's immune. Pressing Sunny Day. Think it's Sunny Day, gets Solar Beam, stuff like that. So, but what's it gonna do here? First and foremost, it's definitely gonna click Rock Slide and it's definitely gonna click Earthquake. And I know this looks like it's the same moves on Flagon, which it is, but it also kind of covers everything pretty decently. But now we have more elephants in the room, quite literally, in Donphan, but also I haven't talked too much about Hariyama. Especially with this team, you know, Hariyama could definitely be annoying. So I think having Solrock here is nice, because despite with this base 55 special attack, we might be able to make something work with that. So let's get Solrock in here, and let's get Hariyama. Right? We throw on Rock Slide. We throw on Earthquake. Let's throw on Psychic. Now Psychic is doing very little damage. Right? We're gonna need some investment to get that to kill. But what about the big move here, Explosion? In older gens, Explosion halves your opponent's defense, and then you'd use a 250 base power move. So effectively, it's 500 power, which is going to kill most things, right? There aren't a lot of Pokemon that are going to live that hit. So I'm looking at Solrock's stats, and I'm seeing a usable speed stat, mediocre attack, bad special attack, and not great bulk. So probably thinking, how are we going to make this guy work? I'm thinking that we can use Solrock as a lead. So Solrock as a lead threatens Explosion, right? And Explosion is incredibly threatening because it's going to basically delete a Pokemon. And then we could throw on Psychic to hit Hariyama pretty hard, just investing enough to 2-hit KO it. That's really all it's for, while keeping Solrock alive to potentially explode on Vaporeon, which would free up Blaziken and Gyarados to go crazy later in the game. So, let's get this Psychic to do some damage. How much special attack are we going to need to make this work? Let's go with Rash. A lot. We are going to need a lot. So much so that it might not even be worth using. So, let's go back and look at Solrock's moves, because Psychic realistically is not going to help us. Looking. Nah. The Reflect. Right, Reflect gives us that damage reduction that we need. So if we put up Reflect, all of a sudden that HP Ghost, that Cross Chop, they kind of bounce off of us. And that's without investing anything into bulk. I'm liking how that looks. Of course, our Earthquake isn't going to do a lot of damage, but if we start to invest a little bit in attack, probably a good bit with an Adamant Nature, it still doesn't do a lot of damage. So we can use Solrock not as much as to get rid of, you know, Hariyama 1v1. We can use it to kind of set up our teammates that are going to be able to do so. Using Reflect, you know, we could get Solrock can set it up. He can even explode right from then. He could do some chip damage with Earthquake, you know, go into Gyarados, who could drop an Intimidate, lower the damage, get a Dragon Dance, and start to do a lot of damage. So if you can kind of see the synergy, you know, we're going for here. So we're going to want some speed on our guy. So if we max out Solrock's speed, we see, oh, he's speed tying with that max speed Metagross that we were looking at earlier. Is this, you know, is this a number that we care about? Yeah, because obviously Metagross is going to one-shot us with Meteor Mash. And if they were to have led Metagross, you know, and clicked Meteor Mash into our Solrock, we basically just lost the Pokemon for no reason. So in this situation, I think I want to go with plus speed. Right, we can max out our speed. Right, Jolly Metagross plus speed nature doesn't really exist. Because again, as I've mentioned before, the power level is lower. You need that adamant, you need that extra oomph on your moves. So with the Jolly nature, we ensure that we outrun it, and we ensure that we outrun an offensive Vaporeon too. Right, we can I kind of don't hate just doing a almost max spread of max HP and max speed with enough attack investment to where we can one-shot Hariyama with Explosion if need be. There, it takes 64. Now, how about Vaporeon? We haven't really, let's take this Phaser set here. Explosion, that's not a lot of damage. That's a bit of an issue, I would say. So, maybe we reconsider our speed. Now we can go down to the Adamant nature on Metagross. You know, a little bit of change of plans, you know. Sometimes you have to adapt your plan to better fit what you're trying to accomplish. Now, are we going to be able to get this kill? If we go down to 172, Jolly, here, we're only going to have 84. See, that's not enough either. So we're going to have to lower that HP stat, or we're going to have to give up on the Metagross stream, which I personally don't think is going to be worth it, because getting that Reflect is going to be huge. So we're going to have to lower our bulk, and lowering our bulk means that Vaporeon Surf is going to kill us, which is not ideal. But you know what is ideal? Blowing up on it. Now, losing too much bulk, eventually this just doesn't even become worth it, you know? But hold on, we're running spikes. How about after a spike? Oh, look at that, we can make Explosion kill. That's worth it. After 2? Definitely. After 3 spikes? I don't think we're going to need any. Okay, we'll need a little bit. So after 3 layers of spikes, which we can set up on Vaporeon pretty okay, we can get a kill with Explosion. Is that worth it? To me, I think I would rather go with the 1 spike, and then have a bit more invest in my attack stat, so I can also continue to threaten Hariyama a little bit more. Because I think I'm going to lead with Solrock, actually. You know, Solrock kind of offers a bit of, you know, he sets the pace of the game, which is what I feel leads in Gen 3 tend to accomplish, right? It's in DPP, you know, the format I play the most, Stealth Rocks kind of dictate everything. In Gen 3, from what I've learned, what I'm starting to understand, is your lead sets the tempo of the game. What you lead kind of says, hey, you know, this is what I'm trying to do. So leading Solrock, right? This kind of shows to me like, hey, I have some tricks up my sleeve, you know? I've got Reflect, I've got Explosion. This is an immediate threat, right? Because Reflect is going to be annoying to deal with, especially if the opponent's not running Brick Break. Rock Slide, Earthquake is really hard coverage to switch into. Explosion is devastating. And Solrock even gets Baton Pass to just switch out immediately, be like, I don't like that matchup, I'm getting out of here. Now, is this something that's worth running on this team? It could be. Over Reflect? Who's to say? I think Reflect is funny. I think it will work really well. And I kind of want to stick with it. So we got our last guy in Ursaring. We'll take one last look. Ursaring kind of just does lots of physical damage. When he hits the field, he's gonna hurt. So to keep the last one simple, because none of these have been too simple, I think we're gonna slap a choice band on him. And we're gonna click return. We're gonna click Earthquake. And let's see, what other fun moves? Rock Slide. Can run Yawn. I think Yawn is cool. Can threaten Sleep. Yeah, Ursaring has lots of fun moves. And he also has a cool shiny. We're going to use shiny Ursaring, because he's like a big gummy bear. And we leave a like for Gummy Bear Ursaring. Do we get Shadow Ball? We don't get Shadow Ball. Not that it matters for this in particular. So return, EQ, Rock Slide. I mean, that pretty much hits everything. You know, Donphan switches in, but he doesn't want to take it too much. So I think in that last slot, I'm just going to throw on Yawn. So Choice Band, it's simple. I'm going to max out the attack. I'm going to run enough speed for that Metagross number. Oh, look at that. That's a max speed. Throw the 4 into Spadef. Give him an Adamant. Sometimes the simplest sets are the best sets. Ursaring has one job, is to click buttons and kill people. And you know what? That's what it's about. So here's the team we have. You know, we got Solrock to kind of set the tempo with Reflect and deal with all those physical threats on the opponent's team. We've got Flygon to be kind of bulky and deal out some good Edgequake damage. We got Gyarados as kind of our big win condition with Dragon Dance, doing a lot of damage with Earthquake. And then annoying things that want to switch in, like Donphan and Vaporeon with Toxic. And then we got Blaziken. He's got Fire Blast, Thunder Punch, Brick Break, Rock Slide. He's just got some really strong moves. He's going to do a lot of damage. And if we get hit with a couple moves, that kind of wear us down, we get the Slack Berry. We're now the fastest Pokemon. We get Blaze boosted Fire Blasts. And Blaziken has a chance to just flip the game around and just win it on his own, which is really cool and really unique about this generation, where Slack Berry just kind of is the choice scarf, But without that, reliance on being stuck into one move, you can now switch it up, but you had to really earn it to get there. And I think that's really neat. And we got Roselia with Spikes. We got Giga Drain. We got HP Fire for Metagross. We got Aromatherapy, which works really well with Flygon's Rest. And last but not least, we got Choice Band Ursaring. He's going to do a lot of damage whenever he comes in. So, it's just a little preview on how I like to go about building draft teams. I know this one is super specific because we're looking at 1 to 2 specific sets here. But it's something that can hopefully kind of spark your own ability to come up with, your own sets and how to come up with unique ways to win games and do well. So that's it for this video. I need to go back to studying for the boards. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good day.